Hello.
Hello, is Jessica Gaynes there?
Yes.
Hello, Jessica. This is
Dustin?
Dustin
Yeah.
Wilmus. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
You sound a little suspicious.
No, I'm not. I'm smiling.
Okay. Well, are you ready to answer a few questions?
Yes.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm here with my co-host Tun.
Hi, Jessica.
What's
How you
his
doing?
name?
Ton, like 2,000 pounds.
Oh, okay. Ton. Okay.
Some
Hi, nice to
tonnage.
meet you.
I'm laying some tonnage onto this conversation. Nice to meet
Okay.
you, Jessica.
He's a big star.
Yeah, don't listen to him.
Well, I've listened to the show on the 5 count on the when I first met Dustin over Facebook internet. So.
Whoa.
There you go.
I just didn't realize that was your name. That was all.
What, did you have some other idea of what it was?
No, I hadn't really thought about it, but I just didn't realize. I think I maybe thought they said Tom.
Tom. I get tongue a lot, like a tongue.
I also thought that today, but not the other time. So.
Yeah. Well, it can be
All right.
whatever
Nice
you
to
want.
meet
I
you.
mean, tongue, Tom. I'm good.
I'm good too. Okay.
All right, so if you're ready, we have some questions lined up to ask you.
I am ready.
Awesome. So I guess we'll start by the basic question. How did you get started in acting?
Okay. Well, my parents were actors before I was born, and by the time I was born, they were. My recollection of them as actors was mainly singing because my dad was on the road with Annie, the Broadway national touring company of Annie, till I was 5, from 2.5 to 5. So, and my mom is a singer too. So I was always just hearing singing. So that wasn't something that I was old enough to do. But then my dad wound up getting. He found some of his old commercials from the 1950s from some guy that collects commercials, and that guy put them on beta tape. And then, in the early 80s, and so we watched them on beta, and I was about 5. And then I thought, I can do that. I want to do that. So then I asked if I could, and my mother said, no, not old enough. You have to wait until you're 6. And then when I was 6, I asked if I could. And then she told my dad, well, she remembered that I said that, so you have to, we have to get her an agent. And then I did go on auditions, and I booked the second audition that I went on, which was Swing Shift, directed by Goldie Hawn, that starred Kurt Russell, and directed by Jonathan Demme, I meant.
Yeah.
That starred Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. That's what I meant, and I played Lisa Pelican's daughter.
Swing Shift is awesome.
Christine Locke was in that. There were a lot of people in that. Holly Hunter was in that.
You were in that.
A lot of people. I was in that, yeah.
High five.
They cut a lot of my stuff out, but it was really fun to work on, and I definitely got to interact with everybody, especially Jonathan Demme. That was really nice.
So then
I did commercials. Yeah.
I was going to say,
what?
how did you transition then from like Swing Shift over to Nickelodeon? How did that end up taking place?
Well, in general, I did take a break for a while, but that wouldn't be the reason why. You transition by whatever somebody hires you for. You go on auditions that, you know what I mean? Like they send you out on
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad was an agent for a while as a kid, too. So when I was a kid, not when he was a kid. Boy, I can't talk today. My dad was an agent for a while when I was a kid, after he'd had a car accident, and then he stopped working as an actor. So he already knew, he knew both sides of the business at that point, and he took me to a kid's agent. He took me to Mary Grady. That was I think the business is still around, but I think Mary Grady retired, but was a very well-known child agent at the time. And then you transition because they send you out on whatever you're right for when they read the breakdowns to agents, and hopefully you get called back. And then I was 14 by the time I got to Nickelodeon. I did commercials for a few years after I did Swing Shift, and then I stopped completely going on auditions from age 8 to age 14 or age 13 because I just didn't want to do it anymore. It wasn't fun, and I wasn't enjoying myself. And then so I didn't even have any plan to go back. But, like anything, just like the reason I wanted to start, I don't remember exactly what I saw around 13, but something I saw sparked my interest again and made me want to go back out on auditions. And I think if you want to go, you're a lot more likely to book something than if you don't want to be there. That's common sense, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, just like anything in life. So you ended up auditioning with Nickelodeon. Was it right away you auditioned for the Wild and Crazy Kids, or? When
I started going out on auditions again, yeah, it was it might have even been it was like one of the first, if not the first editions that I went back out on, yeah.
So then you ended up replacing Annette Chavez of
Right.
Wild and Crazy Kids. What's is there any story behind that, or?
Well, at the time I had no idea. You know, I was a kid and I'd been watching Nickelodeon, so I had seen the show, the first season of it already.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember going to the audition with my dad and telling my dad, this doesn't make sense. Why are they casting this? They already have a girl. And my dad said, well, maybe they want another girl. And then my dad had never seen, meaning an added girl, like 4 people to host it, right? And then my dad had never seen the show because he's an adult. So I said, no, it's set up. The show is set up to have only 3 people hosting the show, you know. So I was confused. You know, I wasn't sure why I was there, what they were doing, and what their intention was. They brought me back a whole bunch of times. They brought everybody back a whole bunch of times, and then all girls. And then they made us sign, you know, like a screen test contract on the final audition, and then that was it. And then I think a couple weeks, maybe about a month later, then they all, you know, booked me, and I was surprised. And then they immediately had us go do the first episode. Well, first we went and signed the contracts, and I met the boys that day, and there was never any mention of why I was replacing anybody or anything like that. Nobody was going to ask Woody Fraser that, because that's a question. It's just, you know, you don't ask Woody that, meaning it's just, if he doesn't want to bring it up, you're not going to ask. So I never really knew. And then there was a lot of hush conversation about speculation. Nobody really knew what was going on, and that was it. So,
Wow.
But then I did two seasons, and it was really fun. And yeah.
Tell us a bit about the filming. Do you have any favorite memories or stories from when you were on the show?
Yeah, I mean, favorite. I mean, every episode, I really enjoyed doing it. I would say that every episode, I really savored the memory of. Like, it was really fun. It was also a lot of work, like hard work, and I was young, and I had to memorize a lot and be professional, of course. But I wanted to be there, so that wasn't difficult. And then I don't know. I mean, I didn't like getting messy. That's the one thing I do recall not liking. But I didn't like it at all, but of course I had to do that when they wrote it in. But I really just enjoyed the whole. I mean, I guess it's, you know, you would think I'd enjoy the games themselves, but I really enjoyed the acting aspect of it. So that was what I really was into, like enjoying. You know, it just happened to be a show where they played games. So, and I was a kid that liked to play games at home anyway. But you know, that wasn't exactly why I was there. So you know what I mean?
Yeah, interesting. So then you ended up, you went from Wild and Crazy Kids over to Salute Your Shorts, is that right? Or
no, some of the cast members were on the show.
Oh, they were on the show.
Yeah, they did an episode as guests, because the second season of the show, we started having all of these celebrity kids from different shows, like network television shows, even, you know, different movies. Like Tobey Maguire was on one episode before he did Spider-Man, and back in the day with what's that show? What was that show called? Home Improvement, maybe. I think it was Jonathan Taylor Thomas was on the show.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yep.
Yeah, and Ashley Johnson from Growing Pains. I'm trying to think. There were a lot of. Oh, we had like at Raging Waters. We had like this group of celebrity kids, like Danny Pintaro, and he was from Who's the Boss, and Josie. I think her last name is Davis. She was from Charles in Charge, and. So we just started doing all celebrity kids, and then we would introduce. What was a branding call from Step by Step? We would have them all come every time they're on the show. We make them be the focal point of the show, and they have to earn the T-shirts. And then so we did that with Salute Your Shorts, and they came and we made it that was the only time we did a show with a Nickelodeon TV show celebrity guest, coming on.
Yeah.
I mean, several of them, but yeah.
Well, when you were working for Nickelodeon, behind the scenes, were you ever hanging out with casts from other shows, or was it more just a separate thing?
We did do that, but it wasn't really hanging out. It was promotional tours that they sent us on.
Okay.
Separately. I went one time with Omar. Every other time I went by myself, and I think the other 2 boys went by themselves, and then they would pair you up with other people. Like we were sent. I went with. I did some shows with Phil Moore from, I can't remember the name of the show that he did anymore, but it's, I think.
Nick Arcade, was that it?
That might be it, yeah.
Yeah.
Then Mike O'Malley, I did a lot of them with him. And they would send us out of state, and we would do, even Christine Taylor they one time sent, but she didn't do the actual hosting of the game, but Mike O'Malley and I would do the hosting of the game. They would send us to like Six Flags. I mean, so it was work, and they were paying us and everything, but we're still interacting with them, and otherwise wouldn't have been. So that's how I know Mike O'Malley. That's how I know Phil Moore. So
Yeah.
but other than that, no, not a lot of socializing, except for when we separately from Nickelodeon were awarded, nominated and awarded this Youth in Film Award, where all these different kid actors from all these different everything, TV movies were also nominated. And so then you go to this big, event for that, and then that's when you wind up seeing people that, like, I remember Melissa Joan Hart was there that time. So, otherwise, no, I never met her any other time other than that. The Kids' Choice Awards too. I guess I did meet some people there when they had us go and read award nominations for that.
Okay. Well, we noticed that you were recently at Comic-Con with the rest of the cast from Wild and Crazy Kids.
Right.
Are you surprised at all by kind of the recent popularity with these 90s Nickelodeon shows? I mean, it's kind of coming back into...
I guess I've had a couple of years to realize that it was going this direction, because I think when I was still on MySpace, which I don't have a MySpace account anymore, I was getting emails from kids that are now adults, but they were even younger than they are now. So they were like early 20s, at the time. And they were asking me how, one of them was even asking me in this group message, I can't remember his name, I wish I could, but this kid had sent me, I think his name was like Patrick or something, he had sent me this email with all these other people tagged into the message saying, we want you to go to Nickelodeon and ask them to replay your shows, put them back on the air. And I said, well, Nickelodeon is not going to listen to me if I say that, and he was like, well, then how can we get this done? And then I said, well, if you want to, my only suggestion, if you want to get it done, is to contact them yourself, because they're not going to listen to me because I'm not an audience member. They don't care what, I don't have any weight. So that was, that had happened, that conversation. And then, I mean, this was like a back and forth conversation where this kid was like pleading with me to like go to Nickelodeon. And then I was like, I wrote this whole email to him, like, he was like, what should I do? So I gave him like pointers, like, I think you should go to the network or not go physically, but, contact the network and da-da-da-da, but don't mention me because that's going to make it not happen for sure, but I mean, it was never my idea to do it, but that was just, I was just giving them guidelines to how to approach. And then a couple years down the line, I start getting all these emails on Facebook just from people asking if they could, I mean, some of them were just, saying, oh, I liked your show, can you add me? And that was nice, and that was fine. And then I started getting some emails that said, can I interview you for something? I'm a journalism major in college, blah, blah, blah. And so then I did that. I did a couple of those. And then I found out when Donnie had contacted me last year that there was a guy writing the book that's now, the book, I guess, Matthew Quickstein, I guess it's called Slimes or
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
I think I've seen a mention of it, yeah.
And it's Penguin Publishers, a subsidiary of Penguin Publishers that's coming out in the fall of 2013. And he was interviewing everybody that was a part of 90s Nickelodeon and 80s Nickelodeon and that groundbreaking time in cable television, not network. And so then I did an phone interview with him, and then and I had already heard from Devin Whitehead about the Kamikaze, so I already knew that was supposed to be happening in September, and then it all just kind of wound up happening all around the same time, and then I think, so anyway, am I surprised? No, because I saw yes and no. That's the best answer I can give you. I don't know. I guess that was such a long-winded answer. You're probably like, that's not what we asked you. But
it's fine.
But that was my answer. No, I'm not that surprised. I mean, I don't know. I always wondered. Like when like kids that grew up were finally going to be like, I remember that show. Because of course it's going to happen. So and it does. Sometimes like people. It's it mainly happens if I hand somebody my credit card and they see my name to go pay. Then they go, I think I know you, right? Because obviously I have red hair and my name is Jessica Gaynes, so it's kind of a given at that point. You're like, oh, I obviously know who you are. So that's pretty much. Am I surprised?
Awesome.
No. Am I a little surprised? No. I guess I'm pleasantly surprised. That's what I would say. I'm pleasantly pleased. It's nice,
So is it safe to say then you're comfortable with being known as the person from Wild and Crazy Kids? Some people kind of try to forget about stuff they did as kids. Or are you cool with that?
Well, I'm fine with it now, yeah. I think, it's a shame that I ever had an issue with it. And at Kamikaze, I wish they'd played the entire panel instead of cutting it up. I'm not sure why they did that, but they cut it up into these brief things that didn't actually show everything I said. So they made it look like I had this unresolved issue about being known or watched on the show, and that wasn't what I said. What I said, and it's unfortunate that I'm not sure why somebody cut my words and made it appear that I had an emotional issue about it I don't have, because it was actually a very funny segment where I was explaining that, 15 years ago, when I was just, dating, having my first boyfriend, I was, 20, and I mean, I really didn't even date before then, like, other than like high school dating, so it was my first adult relationship. And this guy would watch the shows I was on every day, and I would be embarrassed because he would be like, today, while you were gone, because I would, be going on auditions or whatever, and he was working out of his house, and he was like, today, while you were gone, the episode was the one where you had chocolate all over your face, and you're, it was like this ridiculous, embarrassing one. And then I was like, oh my God, I can't believe you watched me on that. And so then I banned him from watching it because I was, so young. I was just like, I just didn't want him watching that. I felt like embarrassed, but but it was something that was a short-lived issue, and it was just, meaning like with a boyfriend, not with friends. It was with my boyfriend at the time that I felt uncomfortable.
Sure.
So, because I really looked, silly, doing a lot of silly things, they would, and I was a little, very young. I looked different at that point. So, but it was never a big issue, actually. I mean, people used to recognize me all the time anyway at that age because I didn't look that different, and I was just more embarrassed about what I was doing in it that I didn't want him to watch. But it was the only what I didn't want him to watch, not everybody. I mean, I even had it on my reel when I went on auditions. I had, clips from the show on my acting, reel thing because it was work I had done, and I did a lot of episodes. So I never had the big issue that they portrayed in that Kamikaze, and I'm not sure what that was about. So there you go.
Well, we got the true story here then.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you.
Well, what other projects are you up to nowadays, or what kind of stuff are you working on?
Well, I stopped going on auditions. This is my third time in my life of stopping. Like, I stopped after Wild and Crazy Kids. I stopped another time. That was my second time for a couple of years, for about four or 5 years, and then this time I've stopped for a little bit longer than that, but not much longer. And I don't know if I'm going to go back, but if I do, it's certainly something. I mean, for anybody, like, nobody has to stop forever. You can take breaks. You can go back. Even my dad went back and did an episode of Cheers after he hadn't worked as an actor for 20 years. So
sure,
it's something that as long as you're, once you get the hard part out of the way, which is joining SAG, then you've really paved the way to, like, you can go on auditions. It's not a big deal because a lot of people can't even get the agents to send them out because they're not SAG yet, and
right.
That's barring them from doing union work. So, which is like a catch-22. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's how it is. So I don't know. I've been running my dad's theater up until 3 years ago, and my parents moved back to New York. They have equity waiver theaters in LA. So, which, you know what those are? Probably not, but I don't know. They're just small, like, rental theaters, like 99 seat and under, that people rent.
Oh, okay.
And,
okay.
Yeah, they're still equity union theaters. It's like where people do their own productions, and people also rent them for acting classes and whatever. So it's like a rental space, and and my dad's doing the same thing in New York. So I haven't visited them yet over there. Can you believe that? I haven't visited my parents in New York yet, but my dad keeps saying, come out here and I'll show you how to run this one too, so that, eventually, because my parents are getting older, that God forbid that eventually though, my dad's like, don't lose the, this is a great, thing for you to take over when I'm not here someday. So that's kind of in the close, near back of my head. Like, that's
sure.
really where that's like, the focus right now, but that's it.
Well, awesome.
Awesome.
Taking over that business is like, I guess, I don't know, just, I'm already doing that over here. And then And then I grew up with my parents always having theater, so it's something I understand how to do. So
Sure.
It's the natural progression of things.
right, you take over your parents' business if it's something you want to do or like doing and understand how to do, and then you can still go on commercial auditions sometimes when you want to start doing that again, and then make some extra money. That's the great thing about how you can always go back to acting.
Awesome. Well, we got to say we're big fans of Wild and Crazy Kids, and we appreciate you coming on with us today. Do you have any final words you want to leave us with?
Thanks for having me.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you for being on.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. Okay, you guys, nice to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I'll talk to you guys soon, meaning hear from you on Facebook.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
All right,
Okay,
bye-bye.
thanks.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.